Welcome r/nuclear revenge. Over a decade later, I got revenge on my abuser. First, to anyone who might want to read this on YouTube, don't. It's cathartic to get out, but having the potential of it blowing up like that is not cool with me. Second, this is a secondary account, and not my main, so that people who know my main don't know this is me. I left many things intentionally vague for that reason. Third, someone kindly directed me to the sub from the comments on Pro Revenge. I did not know there was a nuclear, and please let me know if it's not nuclear enough. Background is short and sweet, just like the rest of the story. When I was a young lass, I was sexually abused by an adult male who volunteered at the school I went to. It went on that entire year, and the next year I had the good fortune to change schools for totally unrelated reasons. Due to the standard issue threats and manipulation that come with these scenarios, I'll kill your family if you ever tell them, and take you to live with me once they're dead. What we do is a special secret that nobody else can ever know, etc. I never told anyone. I pushed it down and just tried not to think about it. Many years later, I had a friend confide in me that something similar had happened to her, and we swapped stories. She had done things the proper, tidy way. She told a trusted adult. The perpetrator was tried in a court of law. He was convicted, and he was jailed for a long time. Everything wrapped up nice and neat with a little bow on top. She was pissed at me for not telling anyone about what had happened to me, even if it hadn't been until years later, because what if it had happened to someone else? But I pointed out that once it was past the statute of limitations, I couldn't really tell anyone. Doing so when he wasn't tried and convicted would come back on me as slander. So it felt like there wasn't anything I could do. For a while, I left it at that. But it started to nag at me. Was there really nothing I could do? I started by looking him up online. A basic Google and social media search were all I needed to find him, living far away from where I was, and I wasn't sure if that meant good or bad things for my revenge. Whatever it turned out to be, as I had no definite plan then. On his very public profile, I got some news that rattled me. He had terminal cancer. It didn't seem like he was going to drop dead the next day, but still, it was now or never if I wanted to get some kind of closure from him. So I requested him on social media, and he accepted. I sent him the first message. Hey, I'm Op from school. Do you remember me? He answered yes, and that was it. I asked for his phone number. I just want to talk to you. He said he didn't think that was a good idea. I said, it's been so long, there's nothing that could happen. I'm not mad, just sad more than anything, and I just want to talk. Now that I'm older, I want to understand. He believed me, and I got his number. I tried calling him immediately, straight to voicemail. He said he would set up a time for us to talk. Okay, fine. I can be patient. It only gave me more time to think about what I would do. About a week or so later, I called him, and he picked up. I barely remember this conversation, and went through a lot of it on adrenaline, shaking like a leaf. He sounded sick, old and sick, not intimidating, like he used to be. Not scary, not anymore. He asked me what I wanted, and why I was talking to him after so long. I said, I just need to hear from you what you did to me, so I know I'm not crazy. He said he couldn't do that. I told him he owed it to me, and that it had been so long ago. The statute of limitations was expired, so there was nothing that could be done about it. I said that I knew he was dying, and it would clear his conscience to talk about it, and answer all of my questions. Win-win, right? He still said no. So I told him that was a shame, and that I'd hoped to get closure from him, but I guess asking his wife and son that I'd seen on social media would have to be enough. This was a bluff on my part. I knew that by telling him that he could do preemptive damage control. If this didn't work, I'd be out of luck. He said fine. He first said in a very bland sort of way, I was inappropriate with you back then. Not good enough. I pushed and pushed and pushed until I almost thought he was going to hang up, and he finally admitted it, in detail. I thanked him, and asked if his conscience felt better. He said yes. I said good. That was all I wanted for both of us. I hung up. Now the actual revenge part, I had recorded the whole thing. Not illegal, I was in a one-party consent area, and although he lived in a different area, he did too. I uploaded it to cloud storage and sent a link to his wife and his adult son. I explained that I had found them as a mutual contact on social media, and since he was nearing the end, I thought they might appreciate knowing some of the memories he shared with me about the time he volunteered at that school. I never got a reply from his wife. I didn't expect one, but still, I was a little disappointed. It took about 3 months, but then I finally got a message from his son. It was glorious. He wasn't the guy's son, he was his stepson, and he'd never liked the guy from day one. He'd told his mom this repeatedly, but she insisted he was just bitter about his BO dad leaving, and told him to get over it. Something just felt off about him, and now he knew what it was. He apologized to me for how the guy had hurt me, not that it was any of his fault, they didn't even know him back then yet. He told me that he knew his mom hadn't replied to me, but she had listened to it. Afterward, she had left him while he was dying of cancer. The stepson said this guy didn't have family of his own, and that he and his mom and his own kids were all he had left. They severed ties with him. Best part, the wife never actually married him, and even if she had, when she left, it wasn't exactly like there was time for the guy to contest anything in court. He was fading fast, and that stuff can take a year or more to get settled. He didn't have that kind of time. When she left, she took all the money. It was all hers. He hadn't worked in a long time due to the cancer. She took the closest thing he had to family, and the best part, without her, he no longer had the money to pay for his private health insurance. I thanked the stepson for contacting me and asked if he could do me one more favor, tell me when it was over, and he was dead. He happily agreed. A few more months later, I got the news. He died alone in a state hospital. They weren't going to publish an obituary, although the stepson had decided to have him cremated so that he could just scatter the ashes. No plot, no lasting proof that this man ever existed. Apparently he had spent the last few months writing constant letters to his now ex and stepson, calling them, texting them, everything. Neither one had responded, and he died alone, knowing that what he had done had eventually ruined his life and taken away what mattered to him. I thought it was a pretty fitting ending, although in the end vengeance just felt meh. I always wish that I hadn't believed him back then and had just told someone. TL, doctor, I was sexually abused as a kid, but never told anyone. Years later, I get him to admit to it and secretly send a recording to his family. They abandon him and leave him to die alone. Edit. A clarification based on the comments from the post on the other sub. I did what I did after seeing that his stepson had 2 young daughters. I wanted them kept away from him, whether they had already been affected the same way or not. I wasn't trying to create collateral damage with his family. This was the most brilliant and perfect revenge I have ever heard. What's worse than killing them? Letting them die without the only thing that makes life bearable at that point. I'm sorry about what happened to you, and the fact he scared you so badly that you didn't tell anyone what was going on at the time. That's what these predators thrive on, the fear and the threats to hurt their parents or siblings or their pets. You didn't want him hurting your parents, so you didn't tell. I know your friend reported the person who was doing the same to her, but I don't understand why she got mad at you. Even adults don't always report sexual assaults, and you were a kid at the time. I would have thought she could understand why you didn't report it. Don't ever blame yourself for not telling anyone. You were a child. It's not a child's responsibility to catch a predator or get them caught. It's great for they do have someone they trust to tell and get believed, but that's the lucky few. Predators groom everyone to not believe you. He died with the knowledge that the last few people who loved him rejected him because he was a piece of shit human. He died humiliated, penniless, broken, and alone. Good for you. I wouldn't have. I'd have spent the entire rest of his lonely life being the only person around him, telling him every day that I hate him and I'm only there because I want to watch him die, and that he had better thank me every day because no one else will come. And then when he gets to the end, leave the room. Let him think at least someone will be there to witness his passing, even if they loathe him. and then take even that from him. Give award. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Absolutely nobody should have to deal with what you went through. I can understand the fear factor. Being told at a young age that if you tell anyone, bad things will happen, is the worst thing anyone can experience. I believe the fact that he died alone is worth it. While that is good, I would still unplug that dude's life support. But after I did your thing, nah, he didn't deserve a quick death. Better to make him suffer for however long he had left. After all, Op will be dealing with this for the rest of her life. Only fair that he should reap his pedo karma for the rest of his. Hang in there, Opus. You're stronger than you know. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit like. If you would like to see more, feel free to subscribe.